Tree of Liberty. The tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants. Thomas Jefferson. How much innocent blood is enough? There was a song, "Find the cost of freedom, buried in the ground. Mother Earth will swallow you, lay your body down." In Jefferson's day, wars were fought with muzzle-loaded muskets, bayonets, and cannon. This was how blood was shed in war. Wars were fought under a code of conduct that protected innocents. As a matter of honor, innocents, women, and children should not be targeted. When he wrote The Tree of Liberty, Thomas Jefferson would have understood patriots and tyrants in the context of the American Revolution and French Revolution. In both wars, patriots waged revolutionary war to be free of a tyrannical king. Our founders feared tyrants, so they created checks and balances to temper presidential power. After 240 years, despite right-wing propaganda, we are a free people led by a president twice elected, not by a tyrant. In their day, Thomas Jefferson and the founders could never have imagined modern automatic weapons, machine guns, or automatic assault rifles, which require no reloading between shots, which spray bullets at high speed. When Jefferson and the founders gave us the Second Amendment, the destructive power of a man with a musket was very limited. He could shoot one round, then had to reload the charge and the musket ball by hand using a ramrod. That was the firepower men were capable of when Jefferson wrote of refreshing the Tree of Liberty. If he were alive today, would Jefferson be concerned about all the mass shootings, the innocent bloodshed, children murdered in their school, the proliferation of assault weapons? Would he be concerned that there are 300 million guns in our nation of 300 million people? Would he be concerned about terrorist attacks upon innocent people? It is hard for anyone to comprehend. Would Jefferson be able to comprehend acts of terror aimed at innocents, women and children, using assault weapons? Would he conclude that the easy availability of weapons mixed with extremism could lead to acts of terror upon innocents? Would he be sickened and appalled at all of the blood of innocents, women, and children shed by terrorists with assault weapons? If he were alive, I would ask him, innocent blood was shed at Fort Hood, Texas on November 5th, 2009. That day, the terrorist was a U.S. Army major and psychiatrist. He terrorized and shot 13 people to death and injured more than 30 others on an Army base. He was a follower of a radical Islamic terrorist. Was that enough blood to refresh the Tree of Liberty? Innocent blood was shed in Tucson, January 8th, 2011. Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords was shot in the head by a crazed assassin and critically injured while meeting publicly with her constituents. Her brain was permanently damaged. 6 people were killed, among them a federal judge and a 9-year-old child. Was that enough blood to refresh the Tree of Liberty? Innocent blood was shed in Aurora on July 20th, 2012. It was hell on earth. A gunman set off tear gas grenades in a movie theater and shot into the audience with multiple firearms. 12 people were killed, 70 others injured. It was at the time the largest number of casualties in a shooting in the United States. Was that enough blood to refresh the tree of liberty? Innocent blood was shed in Oak Creek, Wisconsin, August 5th, 2012. A 40-year-old American white supremacist and U.S. Army veteran massacred innocent worshipers at the Sikh temple. 6 people were killed, all members of the Sikh faith, and 4 wounded. That day, freedom of religion in our land also died. Was that enough blood to refresh the tree of liberty? Innocent blood was shed at Sandy Hook in Newtown on December 14th, 2012. A terrorist killed his own mother, then went to Sandy Hook Elementary and terrorized and shot 20 children, ages 6 and 7 years old, and 6 adults. Dear God, he shot our children. Imagine the horror those precious little souls went through in the time it took that devil to shoot them. Was that enough blood to refresh the tree of liberty? Innocent blood was shed at Washington Navy Yard on September 16th, 2013. Terrorism, when a lone terrorist killed 12 people and injured 3 others in a mass shooting at a naval base. At a naval base, where there is supposed to be armed security. At headquarters of Naval Sea Systems Command inside Washington Naval Yard in Washington, D.C. Was that enough blood to refresh the tree of liberty? Innocent blood was shed, again at Fort Hood, Texas, April 2nd, 2014. This time, the shooter was a 34-year-old Army specialist who went on a shooting spree at several locations at Fort Hood Military Base. He terrorized and shot 3 people to death, terrorized and injured 14 additional people, and then killed himself. Was that enough blood to refresh the tree of liberty? Innocent blood was shed in Kansas City, April 13th, 2014. A neo-Nazi terrorized the Jewish community center and shot up Village Shalom, a Jewish retirement community. He killed 2 people at the community center and killed 1 retiree at the retirement community. Imagine the horror he inflicted. What kind of sick, fascist bastard shoots up a retirement home? Was that enough blood to refresh the tree of liberty? Innocent blood was shed in Charleston on June 17th, 2015. A 21-year-old racist entered the Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church, sat and listened to a Bible study service for an hour, then killed 9 people, including the senior pastor, State Senator Clementa Pinckney. A 10th victim survived. The terrorist was a white supremacist who hoped to ignite a race war. Was that enough blood to refresh the tree of liberty? Innocent blood was shed in Chattanooga on July 16th, 2015. A radical Islamic terrorist did a drive-by shooting on a military recruiting center, then traveled to a U.S. Navy Reserve Center and continued firing, where he was killed by police in a gunfight. Before he was killed, the terrorist killed 5 people and wounded 3 others. Was that enough blood to refresh the tree of liberty? Innocent blood was shed In Roseburg, Oregon, October 1st, 2015, a 26-year-old student who was enrolled at Umpqua Community College shot and killed 8 students and an assistant professor, and 9 others were injured. He murdered our college kids. The terrorist, after being wounded, killed himself by shooting himself in the head. Was that enough blood to refresh the tree of liberty? Innocent blood was shed in Orlando on June 12, 2016. The horror came to Pulse, a gay nightclub. The terrorist, a 29-year-old American of Afghan descent, killed 49 people and injured 53 others. After the attack began, he swore allegiance to ISIS. Police killed him after a 3-hour standoff. It was the deadliest mass shooting in U.S. history. Was that enough blood to refresh the tree of liberty? Innocent blood was shed in Dallas, July 7, 2016. A 25-year-old terrorist sniper shot police officers who were protecting peaceful protesters, killing 5 officers, injuring 7 officers. He said he was angry about recent fatal shootings of black men by police. He wanted to kill white people, especially police officers. He expressed anger for Black Lives Matter. He wanted to kill officers. Was that enough blood to refresh the tree of liberty? Imagine, during the American Revolution, how noble, how heroic the cause of freedom must have felt. To Thomas Jefferson and our founders, men who were marked as traitors, muskets blazing, cannonballs flying, bombs bursting in air, soldiers fighting and dying to win freedom and independence. Yes, the cause was and is very noble. When the cause is noble, do we not feel that makes the shedding of blood noble? Soldiers dying for the cause of freedom is very different from soldiers being murdered on army bases, or a congresswoman shot in cold blood, or people being terrorized and shot in a movie theater, or Sikhs murdered in their temple, or 20 children slaughtered in their school, or Jewish retirees murdered, or black parishioners killed in church, or college students murdered, or 49 people, gay people, shot to death in a nightclub, or our police ambushed. Very different. If I could ask him those things, I expect Jefferson would defend our right to bear arms, such as handguns, hunting rifles. But I would tell him that assault weapons, weapons of war intended for use by soldiers on the battlefield, do not belong in the hands of civilians. We fight the noble fight to preserve our freedoms, but arming civilians with assault weapons does not enrich our liberty, nor does it make the shedding of innocent blood any less an obscenity.